by the end of this video, you will have seen how me verbs form their aorist tense in the Greek New Testament. Hi, Rob McIver here. Let's talk about me verbs and how to make them easier to recognize and translate. You probably remember learning how to recognize verbs in vocabulary lists. In their vocabulary form or dictionary form, verbs will have only one of three endings, an omega, an omi, or a me. And in this video, we're looking at me verbs and their aorist tense. Here is a list of some of the commonly occurring me verbs in the New Testament. There is apolumi, aphiemi, diknumi, didomi, paradidomi, tithemi, histomi. And some of those occur quite frequently, as you will see. Didomi, for example, occurs 415 times just by itself, and in compounds it occurs a further 534. One of those compounds is paradidomi, which itself occurs 120 times in the New Testament. Now, some of these verbs are compound verbs. So apolumi is apo plus olumi. And you'll see that I've put olumi in square brackets because olumi is not found in the New Testament. Now, there's a little tricky bit with aphiemi. It is apo plus iemi. Again, iemi is not found by itself in the New Testament. And you will see that it occurs 142 times as aphiemi and a further 36 times as other compounds of iemi. But looking through the list, you will see that they occur a great many times. So they're kind of unavoidable. Now, one of the things we're trying to do is make me verbs easier. And I've just flashed behind us an appendix from my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier, which lists the paradigms of me verbs. And you'll see in the present indicative active, they are, well, how do I say this? They are very interesting. Yes, they're not quite as straightforward as luo, luais, luai, luov, and luiti, lusin, are they? But the good news is, in their aorist tenses, which are used very frequently, they are very predictable. And so we are looking at some of those aorist tenses today. In this table, you will see that in the middle column, I've listed all the me verbs that I had on the previous table. Apolumi, aphiemi, diknumi, etc. And in the left-hand column, we have the aorist tense, apolessa, aphaika, edaixa, edoka, ethaika, and estesa. All right, now, they are quite different, aren't they, than apolumi, aphiemi. But once you've learnt the aorist, you will be able to work out how it goes. If you remember, we have available to us two sets of endings that represent aorist tense. One represents the strong aorist, that's the on, sn endings, and one represents the weak aorist, that is the sa, sas, sen, samen, sate, san endings. Well, let's look at our list of aorists of me verbs again. Now, if you look down the list of aorists of me verbs, you'll see that they go el apolessa, aphaika, edaixa. In other words, they all finish with alpha. So that is not an ebalon ending, an on ending, it's a elusa ending. So the aorist of me verbs generally follow the endings of weak aorist. There's one little detail that we need to pay attention to. So let's just have a quick look at that. The aorist of me verbs can be divided into two general groups. Those that use the full endings of the weak aorist, so that's the sa, sas, sen, samen, sate, san endings, and those that use the endings without the sigma. So they go a, as, en, amen, ata, an. Let's look at the two groups separately. Here we have the first group. This group uses the sa, sas, sen, samen, sate, san endings. So we have apolessa. Well, we can see the sa ending right there. What about edaixa? Remember, a psi ending comes from coalescing a guttural plus a sigma. And we know it's diknumi in the present indicative active. So it's a kappa that coalesced with a sigma to make the psi. and estesa, and there's sa is there for us to see. And the example I've given you is apolesa, apolesas, apolesen, apolesamen, apolesata, apolesan. So that's I destroyed, you destroyed, he, she, or it destroyed. We destroy, you destroy, they destroyed. All of those verbs use the full sa, sas, sen, samen, sate, san endings that we expect from the weak aorists. On the other hand, this set of verbs uses the a, as, en, amen, ate, and endings from the weak aorists, but they don't use the sigma. So there is epheka, edoka, and etheka, the aorist of aphiemi, didymi, and tithemi. Now, how do they form their aorist tense? Well, I've shown you the example of edoka. It goes edoka, edokas, edoken, edokamen, edokata, edokan. So once you know edoka, you can work out how the rest of the verb will turn out. So let's look at Rob's tips for making the me verbs easier. There's only 2 of them. First, learn their aorists as vocabulary items, and secondly, practice. Let's talk about each of those. Now, once you know the aorist of aphiemi, for example, is epheka, you can work out the rest. But you must memorize that the aorist of aphiemi is epheka. There's no way to work it out. They might be using weak aorist endings, but like the strong aorist, the only way you'll know the aorist indicative active of aphiemi is by memorizing epheka and didymi and edoka and tithemi and etheka. And it's the same with apolumi and apolesa. The only way that you would know that the aorist of apolumi is apolesa is by memorizing it. But once you've memorized it, you will know how the rest of the endings go. Learning the aorist indicative actives of me verbs is the first step in making them easier. In fact, it's the last step, it's the middle step, it's the big step in making them easier. And no doubt you'd like to practice them. So let me recommend the exercise in chapter 16 of my book, Beginning New Testament Greek Made Easier. There you will find an exercise that looks at using the me verbs in their aorist tenses and gives you practice, and also has a section where you can find some examples from the New Testament where the aorist and me verbs are used. This video is part of a series of videos, including a video on the tenses in general, followed by separate videos on the weak aorist and the strong aorist, this one on the me verbs, and there's one more to come on interesting verbs that we haven't yet covered. You can most easily find these videos by subscribing to my YouTube channel, NT Greek Made Easier, or by following me on x.com at McIver 2024. And hey, if you found this video helpful, why not let me know by clicking on the like button below or by clicking on the heart icon. Thank you.